Hey everybody, it's Thaddeus here from PrimalHacker, and we're going to try this with a different microphone setup today. Hopefully the audio is much better now, and welcome to Cold Adaptation. This is video number 3 in our Cold Adaptation series, and this is again taken from our Fire and Ice retreat at the Point Retreats from February 2020 of this year. We're going to walk you through in this presentation the actual steps that you will take, or you could take, that I have taken for cold adaptation and what the sequence is to go from 0 to cold adapted. Now, we teach this at a retreat over a 4-day weekend, and we do get people from Australia, New Zealand, and Argentina, California, from being really warm in their climate to coming to a frozen northern climate, cold adapting over the weekend and getting in a frozen lake, which is what you see right here. So this is actually a group of us up in the northern Minnesota region where I think this is Ely, Minnesota, and it's Camp du Nord. It's a YMCA camp, and they cut a huge hole in the frozen lake, and there's a sauna right on the shore. So what we're going to do is go through the sequence you can take to cold adapt and the steps in order. Then again, you remember, we will have videos on every one of those steps coming after this. So continue to stay tuned. What you want to do, of course, is you are going to start very, very slowly and early. This is in the middle of the summer. Now, this is an advanced setup that many of you will probably never use, nor do you have to use, but you would preferably start cold adapting in the summer by getting cool, and you can do this in a pool if the pool is colder than air temperature, which almost certainly is the case. You can get in a natural body of water like a lake, a river, a stream. In this case, we are showing a freezer setup, which a lot of biohackers tend to use. They take a freezer full of water. Mind you, the freezer will be unplugged when you're getting into it. It is not made to hold water like this, but the freezer will be filled with water. It'll be put on a timer, and overnight, that timer will be on. It'll turn the freezer on for 2 hours overnight. It'll chill the water, and by the time you get into it, the water will be very, very cold, sometimes 30 to 32 degrees. There'll be ice on the top. You don't need it that cold. The point of this really is to start the cold adaptation process and getting used to cold early in the summer when it's actually quite pleasant. So start early, get in some water, take a cold tub outside. You can actually use a $89 Fleet Farm Rubbermaid 100-gallon stock tank. Fill it up with hose water. Hose water is typically, at least here in Wisconsin in the spring, 55 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. That 55 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit is the perfect temperature for cold adaptation. It does not have to be colder, although typically it will be. So start early, start in the summer, don't wait until it gets cold. Next is mindset. These are actually my stepsons. They're here in a frozen lake. This was their first time ever doing cold therapy. And the first time you do cold therapy, I do not recommend that you get into a frozen lake. It can be very challenging for many people. The key, though, is when you go into cold adaptation, the mindset is absolutely critical. So as you're preparing for cold adaptation, you are better off adopting a mindset of surrender, of just complete and utter surrender to the cold. Yes, you're going to feel uncomfortable when you get cold. Yes, it's going to feel cold. Your surrender mindset, the mindset of just allowing your body to feel those sensations and paying attention, is what's going to allow you to adapt, and in a way that's not going to be unpleasant. You don't want to become stressed and jack your cortisol by getting cold and freaking out. You want to surrender and relax into the cold and understand it will be uncomfortable. However, after about a week or two of cold adaptation, it gets very comfortable. It gets much easier. You don't have to continue to get cold all the time. You will actually have a resistance to cold that lasts for many months. Next is breathing. There's actually a video here. This is obviously, you can see one person is dressed quite a bit different than the other. This is on Instagram at Certified Health Nut. This is Troy Casey. He's got some books out and other things, but he was doing some breathing exercises to overcome cold. Many of you by this point have heard of Wim Hof and his method of breathing. He takes some cues from shamanic principles and Kundalini yoga and some others and kind of combines them to create the Wim Hof method of using breath to overcome cold, along with other things. In this case, Troy is using, you can find a video, I believe this was on Instagram, and this video is going through a Kundalini breathing practice and movement practice to overcome cold. Breathing is really key. Getting your breath to be relaxed when you're in the cold, and I guess what you would say catching your breath when you get cold, is really critical and key to relaxing the nervous system and adapting faster. The way that you can prepare to go into cold is actually do somewhat of a hyperventilation breath. You can call it a Wim Hof breathing technique. You can call it a breath of fire for Kundalini. But using some of those things along with some key breath holds, again, look it up and do your own research. But you can do that to pre-warm your body, pre-energize your body for the cold so that it has less of an impact on you. And then when you get into the cold, to relax your breathing as much as possible. Really critical. So you've been adapting since the summer by just getting in some cold bodies of water. That's all you need to do. Now the fall is here and it's starting to get cold. This is Hilda, our friend Holistic Hilda on Instagram. She runs the Weston A. Price Foundation podcast, Wise Traditions. She has taken cold adaptation to a whole new level for herself. This is her doing a shiver walk. And this is one of the very first things when we get into the fall and it starts getting cold, we recommend everybody do. You put on as few clothes as possible and you go out for a walk until you get cold. Now, you have two options when you get cold. You can bring clothes with you. So bring your jacket, bring your hat, bring your mittens, bring your pants, bring a sweater, and then just start putting them on. So it's like reverse layering. Add as you start getting cold. You do that as often as you can. You put the clothes on at the very last minute when you feel you need to, and your body starts to adapt. Do this safely. I in no way recommend people get hypothermia. I always wear a hat and gloves because those are the extremities that get cold the fastest and will drive you inside. You want cold on your skin, and you want to drop your core body temperature a little bit. It matters not if you're wearing a hat, gloves, and warm boots. Those things allow you to stay out longer, and they allow your core temperature to drop without you freezing because you have so many nerve endings in the feet and the hands. They can drive you in faster before you would preferably go in otherwise. So definitely cover up on those extremities. Wear as few clothes as possible. Otherwise, you'll get more and more and more comfortable in the cold. Okay, this is a very old video of me when I had shaved head and my awesome UVEX blue light blocking glasses. These were the very first glasses I tried out when I was doing blue light blocking at night. But this is a very simple concept. After you've started to cold adapt, you have done some shiver walking. You can even do this as your very first thing. This is face plunges or face dunking. Really simple concept. Fill up a sink with water, cold water. Throw some ice in it. Put your face in the water. Hold your breath as long as you can. Take your face out. Take a deep breath. Put it back in and stay in as long as you can. I guarantee the first 2 times you do this, your face will tingle and it probably hurt. And you won't be able to keep it in for as long as you can even hold your breath. Afterwards, you'll be able to hold your breath in that cold water for the whole time. Some people have been known to go as far as getting a snorkel so they can keep their face in longer. But what this is doing is it's hitting the nerve along the side of your face and your neck. And that is helping you to cold adapt literally systemically. The whole body can cold adapt just by plunging your face in there, because of the way that our biology works. So this can be a very effective technique for starting cold adaptation and can actually help you cold adapt much faster than other techniques because it's very simple, it's accessible to everybody. Of course, we talked about swimming. So this is our friend here, Maylee. She goes by BioHacker on Instagram, and we were in the ocean here in Florida. So this is February in Florida. The ocean was quite cool. Quite cold actually, for what the air temperature was, and getting in a cold body of water, no matter where you are, that's colder than the air temperature is cold adaptation. You can, of course, take it a step further, and cold showers. Cold showers are the bane of my existence. I cannot personally take a cold shower. I love hot showers. I will always take a hot shower unless I've just gotten out of the sauna or a hot tub. Then I'm fine doing a cold shower. In fact, it's really healthful for you to do it then, in my opinion. But some people really enjoy cold adaptation through just cold showers, and water takes away heat faster than air. So you can cold adapt faster in water than you could with air. Some people will just take straight out a cold shower for 5 minutes. Other people will take their hot shower, and at the end of their shower, before they get out, they'll turn it all the way to cold just for a minute or two to cold adapt. And people say that they get used to this and they no longer have to take hot showers ever. In fact, some people take cold showers exclusively for years and years and years. They don't take any hot showers once they've done this because they find it invigorating and their body actually gets quite used to it, and it's not a stressor. To me, it's a big stressor, and I'm not going to do something that's a really big stressor first thing in the morning because I do not want my cortisol any higher than it already is in the morning. If any of these things stress you out too much, you pull back and you find ways to perform these functions of cold adaptation in a way that is less stressful mentally for you. Of course, next, the concept of the cold bath. So you can do this in your bathtub. You can fill up your bathtub with water and then put some ice in there and take a very cold bath. This is kind of the method that I personally like to use. And this is sticking a tub, a stock tank in the backyard, filling it with hose water, which is typically, as I said, quite cool, 65 all the way down to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. And then sitting here for as long as you can. The benefit of this is that you also get ultraviolet rays, you get sunshine, you get red and infrared light. You get all the benefits of nature by doing it outdoors. I highly recommend people do it outdoor. Now, this is a metal tub. If you were to do this in the freezing cold weather, you will probably stick your skin to that metal tub and it will peel your skin off. So if you're going to do it and it's cold and it gets very cold, like freezing temperatures where you live, get a plastic tub, not metal. Now, this is our friend BioHacker Todd. Of course, this is his setup. If you know him, you've seen this plenty of times. This is what Luke Story uses as well. And this is a large chest freezer. You saw mine was a 5.5 cubic foot chest freezer. This is more like a 15 cubic foot chest freezer. Turn the timer on, just like I mentioned before, and you get the water. This water is going to be about 31 degrees, 32 degrees, like right at that freezing level and below. It's very cold. This is a more of an advanced technique. It can help out quite a bit with weight loss and with burning glycogen, which increases human growth hormone. I don't recommend people get this cold. I don't think it's necessary. I don't personally do this except a few times a year when I dip in a lake that's frozen, but this is completely unnecessary. If you want to go to these extremes, be very safe in the way that you do it. You will not be staying in here for a long time. 5 minutes is pretty extreme and professional, I would say. Most people are going to be 30 seconds to a minute. If you start getting into the 5-minute mark, you can start literally freezing fat cells and skin cells. Be very careful with these techniques, but it is something you'll see people do. Again, going with the extreme. This is, again, Camp du Nord at YMCA camp on the frozen lake, getting into the frigid water. Now, the benefit here, of course, is that there's a sauna 10 steps away. So we can get nice and warm afterwards. We're not going to get hypothermia by getting super cold. What I will mention is it's harder to get in than it is to get out, which sounds intuitive, but it's actually really hard to get in that cold water. But once you're in there and you've been in there for 2 minutes and you get out, you would think you'd be freezing and you need to run. Actually, your body starts to warm up very, very quickly. And once you get out of this frozen water, you can actually stand here in the wind and the freezing cold weather for a very long time. You have to be careful with that. I personally like to stand out here for a few minutes to let my body attempt to warm itself. I think that's part of the cold adaptation process, but you will feel actually pretty good. There's a lot of endorphins that are kicking around in your body as well at this point. So I recommend you take note, even though you feel good, after a minute or two, get warmed up, because you could get hypothermia. You could have some issues because when you come out, you do feel so good. Your body feels much warmer in the air than it was in that water. And you may tend to stay out longer than would be healthful for you. Here are just some other options. You can use these compression shirts and then stick ice packs down them and wear them all day long. And this can be sort of a way to cold adapt, reduce inflammation, reduce body weight. Some people lose fat this way by wearing these compression shirts around with ice packs on the outside of them or the inside of them, depending on your preference. And you can keep it right on your core. One of the keys, of course, is consistency. So every single day in the winter, we are outside with as few clothes on as possible. Breathing, I try to do 5 minutes when it's cold. This was about 10 degrees outside here. It was pretty cold. Sometimes I'll have a shirt on if it's below zero. Sometimes I'll have it off for only 30 seconds. Sometimes I'll be out for 20 minutes. And it depends on, how much work I have going on and everything else. But consistency and getting out every single day. At some point in February, this becomes very comfortable. We talked a little bit about this, but when you're getting into extreme cold, it's really helpful to cover up your digits. So your hands, your feet. Wearing a hat can allow you to stay longer and not feel as uncomfortable. Totally acceptable to wear those things. So we talked about mindset, of course. So staying relaxed, having that surrender mindset, and having the intention that your body is going to cold adapt are all very, very, very important. The other thing I recommend is if you're going into the frozen water, do some breathing. So Wim Hof or a hyperventilation or a breath of fire. So type breathing before you get in can warm the cells. And then when you get into the water, you're going to take a full breath and then get in, because most people are going to have the breath taken out of them when they get in that water. Having a full in breath before you get in and holding it allows you to begin calming your breathing. Then if you jump in without a full breath on an out breath and you start panicking and trying to breathe very quickly in the water, that can make it worse. When you're in the water, you're going to breathe. Again, this is a photo from our retreat from 2 years ago. They look very comfortable. It's about 10 degrees below zero here, air temperature. That is very cold. But once you understand the mindset and get the breath right, you can make it look effortless. That's the key. So these have been the keys of starting the process of cold adaptation. I want everyone to understand that they start slowly in a natural body of water. You begin with the right mindset. You will then move into these face plunges, a shiver walk. So just walking outside with as few clothes. For some people, that's a light jacket, a hat, gloves, and boots. You don't have to go in shorts and a t-shirt. You can. It's not necessary. You're just trying to get cold. And once you get cold, you come in and warm up. You can go a little more extreme with cold showers and cold baths. You can try this technique. I urge people to be very careful with these two techniques and always have a partner there with you to ensure that you're safe. But that is the process, and those are the things that we will be showing you how we use them for cold adaptation as we show you each one of those things in the next series of videos. Please let us know what your questions are down below in the comments on cold adaptation, and we respond to all comments at this point, and we will get answers if we know them, or record a brand new video if there's something that you want to see more of in here and we don't get to. Thanks, everybody.